Hello, myself Sunil R Nair, and here basically we are discussing about the union that is the banks union. Bank union means basically you can say each and every mostly basically banks are connected with the World Bank, so it's a union of World Bank basically. So World Bank is the bank basically which keeps the each and every information of the each and every banks basically. That also we can say. For example, private bank is there, cooperative bank is there, limited banks are there basically. So like this basically many types of banks are there, and they basically have certain level of rules basically. For a limited bank basically they takes money from the public also. Like this basically they shares their they will issue, they basically issues the shares also basically. Like this basically the public also takes the banks public also purchase the share basically you can say. So like this basically banks basically do the investment, and according to the investment whatever money they gets, according to that basically they divide the money to the shareholders also basically. So that basically depends upon the investment basically, where basically they do the investment. So like this basically they should do the long term investment also, and they do the short term investment also. Long term investment basically you can say where basically the money can be found after a certain time basically. So that type of investment basically also they do. For example, they basically invest in the city creation. So city creation also basically they do the investment. City creation means if the particular government basically told that basically you have to create this city. So basically they literally create the city basically. For that basically the money basically is required, this is required. So that basically each and everything basically the banks do the help. So like this the banks basically do the help. So like this is basically the that is basically one bank basically. Like this basically the union of banks are also basically there. So like this the basically each and every banks basically do their task. Basically. So each and every banks basically they should be have some source like without source basically they can't do the work. Na? They should have basically for example they want to create some city, there should be some plan na, basically without plan basically how you can design the city basically. City design nowadays equal to vegetable creation, fruits creation, like each and every oil, petrol, like this basically each and every things basically are created. So like this all are the creation, right? So that basically creates from the cities basically. So the city basically equal to nowadays the city energy basically equal to city creation, and the city energy basically equal to nowadays it's a human need creation basically. So that basically one bank basically directly can't say basically we will create this, we will create that. Basically, how basically they can do that? For that basically you require one plan na, basically. So for that basically the World Bank basically prepares the plan basically that this is the product basically which you have to sell, and rest of thing basically that rest of group basically is going to do. That basically automatic process basically when the customer is going to purchase this product, according to that basically the monies basically are converted into the certain level of distributors basically, and then basically rest of things basically will happen automatically. But you have to do the manual process basically. You have to do the manual process. Rest of thing basically the automatically will going to happen. Like this basically he told that basically the like this basically he told that each and every banks basically are connected like this basically. Then basically he told that World Bank basically are creating a product, right? So each and every product basically you can say they are connected with the city creations. Each and every products basically are directly connected with the city creation. That basically authority only World Bank basically have. Rest of group basically they don't have the authority basically, because each and everything basically has to be planned basically. Without plan basically how you can create the thing basically. Without plan basically you can't create the single thing also basically. So like this basically the city creation is nowadays equal to human need creation. So and human need basically are the demand and supply basically formula you can say. Whenever basically its demand is there, then basically supply basically happens from the city energy basically. So that basically all the things basically the nuclear power company do. So nuclear power company basically they all also basically jumped into the demand supply of the each and every human needs basically. So like this basically you can say that each and every human needs basically are connected with the uh, Each and every human needs basically are connected with the cities, and each and every cities basically are connected with the each and every cities are connected with the human needs basically. Like this basically you can say that basically you can say the vice versa, and each and everything basically you can say like this. The human needs are basically controlled by the um nuclear power company, and nuclear power company basically decides basically which demand which basically city basically is having, which city has to be which city basically is going to supply particular item basically. So that for that basically the government are there, basically for that particular businessmen are basically there. There are basically many people basically who interacts with the nuclear power company. Only one people basically can't do. So like this businessmen do the interaction, like this the government do the interaction. Sometimes basically the private consultants also basically, because they are basically perfectly planned group basically, perfectly educated group basically. IITs, IIM, MBS, these all group basically are perfectly planned group, right? Because they know each and everything basically. For example, one person told that basically this city has to be created. So for that basically IITs, IIMs and MBA group, they basically group have the plan basically, that like this basically we can create the cities. So like this after creation the city basically, like this basically the city basically can be created because we have the entire plan basically. So the nuclear energy basically data can be, nuclear company basically can get the data from the IITs and IIMs also, but they should be authorized by the certain level of government, certain level of businessman group basically, because here basically each and every things are connected with the human needs, and there basically they are going to generate some certain level of data basically. So one person told that basically if in one city basically we are basically creating 10 types of vegetables, same vegetable but in 10 or 12 types basically. So he told that basically for that basically which type of basically the vegetables you require, that basically only the demand, and who basically done the demand basically, that group only basically can know na? Without the people basically how basically you can produce types of vegetable basically, which type of vegetable is required basically, that basically those people only know basically who actually required that particular human needs, who basically demands the human needs, that basically demand basically public basically can't contact with the human needs, right? Directly they can't say basically I want 1 kilo vegetable, 1 kilo this that this basically they can't basically say that. So for that, basically the government basically are there, the private agencies are there. Like this, basically each and every groups are basically connected here. So like this, each and every agencies are connected. Like this, each and every groups basically are connected. Each and every government sectors are basically connected. Like this, basically lots of people says that the energy company and power company, they basically have created themselves as a businessman, and like this basically they also basically sometimes basically interact with this basically. So that basically required the authentication. Without the authentication of the certain level of group basically, that is not possible, right? Because you are interacting with the demand and supply of the country basically. So country basically what country basically country's businessman basically, you can say country's vegetable businessman basically. So that basically group basically what is required basically, that basically is only basically connected with the businessmen and the software on the businessman, and the government basically you are connected with a set of group basically. So like this basically only group, a certain level of group only basically can say that basically we need this type of data, we need that type of human needs, we need this type of human needs. Like this basically many like this the human needs are also basically controlled by the certain level of groups basically. So that's basically not easy task basically. And the nuclear power company also basically say that basically that is not easy task for us also basically. For us also basically it's not so easy task, yeah, because to handle the for example in India basically there are more than 100 crore population. Then basically in Pakistan there are basically more than 80 crore. In China basically there are more than 100 crore. In basically USA, Australia, New Zealand, which this whole country basically also have more than 50 crore people basically. So like this basically few people says that Sri Lanka, like this New Zealand is there, Zimbabwe is there, West Indies is there, South Africa is there. Like this basically each and every country basically have there. So it's very difficult to give the to fulfill the human needs basically. It's not so easy basically, because few people basically say that we give the our vegetables to the outside India also basically. So whenever they do the order basically, according to the order basically, uh, the government basically knows that basically how many which our businessmen basically are doing the outside production also basically. So according to that basically the demand and supply basically happens. Demand has basically the outsider vegetables also, and then the supply basically happens according to that only basically. So like this basically how many percentage level of businessmen are like this basically each and everything basically are decided, and this basically connects into the union side basically. So these all are basically connected with the banks basically. So city creation equal to bank creation, you can say. Sorry, banks basically create cities, and cities basically are into the vegetables creation. Nowadays, cities basically converts their energy basically into the vegetable creations. So like this, basically things are also basically there. So like this is also one of the part of union basically. Next part also basically we are going to say a little bit more about the union.